Welcome to the True North Compliance Podcast, where we discuss regulatory and compliance issues for Canadian business.
Hello, I'm Sean O'Hara, and thanks for listening.
Hello, everyone. My guest today is Rachael Cronk, co-owner and general manager of Provincial Moving and Storage, a family-run moving company based in Victoria. Since 2009, her company has been helping residential, commercial, and government clients with careful, stress-free packing, moving, and storage across Vancouver Island, Vancouver, and seasonally throughout British Columbia and Alberta. Rachael is known for her hands-on approach to client care from the first estimate call through move day and leads a team recognized with an A+ Better Business Bureau rating and a Better Business Bureau Torch Award for ethical, high-quality service. She is passionate about integrity, clear communication, and treating every home and office move as if it were her own. Welcome, Rachael.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me on the podcast.
Can you start by telling us what Provincial Moving and Storage does and who you help?
Yeah, so we help with packing, moving, and storage services for residential, commercial, government, restoration, construction moves. And we help a whole variety of people, from students, single individuals, young families, retirees, elderly individuals, commercial clients, government clients, a whole variety.
You're a family-owned company and independently owned. You're not a major franchise. How does that impact you? How does it help you give better service or different level of service?
Because we're family owned, when people phone, they talk to me. There's no one else who picks up the phones. When you phone, like you say, a franchisee company, you may be speaking to someone in Vancouver or Toronto. You're not speaking to the owner or general manager, oftentimes, of that individual location that you're looking to move from. They're oftentimes get fed to call centers. So I would say the quality of service is higher because you're speaking to myself, who's the owner and general manager of the company. That allows me to do a lot of handholding. With moving, people that move for 5, 10, 30 years, there's a tremendous amount of things that they need to do to properly prepare for moving day. And we provide a whole bunch of resources to get them over the finish line. So I would say that a lot of bigger companies and franchisee companies probably aren't having that hands-on approach that we certainly do. Yeah.
Good. What do you like about what you do?
That every day is a new day. I don't think I've ever had 2 days that are the same. And for me, that is just perfect. I used to be in a career that days melted into each other. There was a lot of similarities, and I wasn't being stretched. I wasn't learning. I wasn't growing after some time. And in this industry, like I said, there's no 2 days that have ever been the same. And it's a lot of growing and learning and being pushed and pulled in different directions. And I like the variety of the work.
That's neat. So as a moving company, there's some rules and regulations and so on that you would have to follow. So who oversees moving companies in BC? Is it regulated or?
Yeah, the Ministry of Transportation under the BC government regulates us through the National Safety Code.
So how does that affect your day-to-day business?
There's all kinds of rules that we have to comply with in terms of first thing in the morning. We have to do a pre-trip inspection to make sure that our trucks are working properly, from the horn to the lights to the fluid under the hood. We need to make sure that our trucks are running well. It comes from a safety standpoint that the last thing you want is a moving truck not functioning and getting into a car accident on the roads. If a 5-ton moving truck gets into a car accident, it can be a really bad end result. So it comes from a standpoint of safety that they want us to be checking our trucks every day to make sure that we're staying on top of maintenance and being preventative. There's also really important paperwork that's required. So because we're moving people's household belongings, we have to have a bill of lading filled out for each client and a terms of carriage filled out that all come from the Ministry of Transportation rules on saying, okay, we're moving a 3-bedroom home from Shelburne to Mackenzie, and you've authorized us to do that.
Have you seen situations where a move went badly because a truck broke down or wasn't safe? I guess because that mess up a family. They've moved into a place. They want their furniture. They want the kids to be in their own beds. but there's been some issue with the truck or safety, and that didn't happen?
Yeah, so we bought the company 3 years ago, and in the 3 years that we've owned it, we've never had to cancel on a client because of, like you say, a truck breaks down or some kind of major delay. Oh, pardon me. There was one snow day, but that worked out fine. They were able to move to the next day. There was no way that we could get our truck into there. It was a snowstorm from 2 years ago. Town of Sydney, the snow bloke came by, made a huge snow mound in front of the parking spot. There was nowhere to put our moving truck. So we did technically postpone on a client to the next day, but didn't cancel. Anyways, back to your initial question of a truck breaking down and having a major delay on a residential move. We haven't had it, but it happens all the time, and it certainly could happen in the future. You never know when a major mechanical issue is going to happen on your truck. It could happen tomorrow. And sometimes there's warning signs, and of course, we stay on top of maintenance, and sometimes there isn't, and things happen. But they certainly do happen in the industry. I would say I get a handful of clients calling on moving day saying, "Oh my goodness, my mover canceled on me. My mover's truck broke down. Can you help me?" And sometimes we can, and sometimes we can't.
I guess the proper maintenance and so on would help to minimize all of that.
Yes, that's huge. And we did talk to our clients about that we stay on top of these things. They're expensive, but they yield a lot of fruit for us because, yeah, we haven't had to ever cancel on a client.
Okay, good. And that snow is an exception. And
Yes. Unfortunately, just generally the city of Victoria, we can't handle snow. I think Sydney must have gotten snow plows from the airport or something, and they did their streets, and it made huge snow plows. And from the icy sidewalks to the snow in front of the condo that made it impossible to get our truck in there, there was no way that we could do that move that day. But thankfully, warm weather came, and the next day we could.
And for any listeners outside of Vancouver Island or the Lower Mainland, we don't get much snow here. So when we do, it's a big thing.
It is, yeah. We don't really know how to handle it.
No, it probably doesn't even cause a hiccup back east or the other side of the Rockies. Provincial Moving and Storage has an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. And what did you do to earn that and to keep that rating? What's the process?
Yeah, we're a registered member. We renew every year. And essentially to stay A+ is that you've had 0 complaints lodged against you.
And how does that help you, having the A+ rating?
I think a lot of clients look towards the Better Business Bureau as an organization that they really align with. And the Better Business Bureau is really quite active, especially with moving companies and construction companies, because unfortunately, they're top times the companies that can be problematic to really bring in on the good and the not so great ones. So I think a lot of people know the Better Business Bureau are advocates in the marketplace to eradicate, or maybe not eradicate, but really highlight perhaps the other good companies to go with so that people are hiring good quality movers, construction companies, et cetera, et cetera.
Do they put you through any kind of a process to get the rating, or is it just based on complaints they receive?
I believe it is all complaint driven. Yeah. People leaning on the Better Business Bureau is analogous to just that social proof of going online, asking for recommendations, going onto people's Google pages. I think it's an institution that a lot of individuals know about and stand behind. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been around quite a while. And they do differentiate too between I guess it's their members or the people who've paid or been accredited. Looking at their site, they'll show a business, whether it is or not. You're also a certified living wage employer. Can you tell us about that? What was the process and why you did it and what it means?
The Living Wage Association of BC essentially goes around to all the major towns and cities across BC. So, Prince George, Nanaimo, Vernon, and says, okay, what does it cost to pay rent or a mortgage, maintain a car, groceries, et cetera, et cetera? And what kind of wage does that person need to make to support those expenses? So for every city and town across BC, they have major towns and cities, they've attributed an hourly rate to be able to actually live there. And forgive me, but A week ago, the Living Wage Association just announced their new number for 2026. And I don't have it memorized off the top of my head, but I want to say it's $27 and something cents per hour. And for us, we've committed years ago to becoming a living wage employer. And then in order to renew and still stay a member, you need to continually increase your wages for your staff members to stay an accredited member. So each year we've committed to raising our staff's wages to meet that number, if not more.
Great. How do you use that in your marketing or in your dealing with your customers, your clients?
I tell clients that we're a living wage employer. I think it's a certainly differentiating factor between us and other moving companies. I think it says two things. One is that because we pay people well, we're able to attract and retain good quality professional trained movers. And when you're looking to hire a moving company, I think that's one of the biggest factors that homeowners are looking for are, did you pick them up from the side of the road, or are they trained professional movers? And that's what our staff is. So we don't have big staffing problems with people, like with turnover and things. We've had long-term employees for some time now, which is wonderful for us for maintaining the business. And we're able to provide that consistent service. And then secondly is that there are a lot of homeowners that say, you know what, the people that are coming into my house and doing work, be it plumbers, electricians, movers, they want to see them making money to actually live here. They want to be supporting a local economy and a company that pays their staff that can afford to live here. So a lot of clients have that feel good moment of, hey, I've hired a company and the people coming into my house to move my stuff, they can actually afford to live here and put a few bucks away each month.
Also, yeah, a good amount of stability because there's a lot that goes into packing and learning how to pack. It isn't just throwing everything in a box and taping it up. I saw an ad once about moving, and it was something like, you've trusted your grandmother's prized heirloom china to the lowest bidder.
One thing that's happening in the marketplace right now is ever since the real estate market has been a bit different here in Victoria, and because the vast majority of moving companies move typically homeowners, we certainly move renters as well, but vast majority is homeowners, that when the real estate market goes a little funny and not as many people are buying and selling, then moving companies don't have as many people to move. So what we see happening is moving companies providing low ball estimates, and clients, and this is where the thought came from, see a really cheap number. They say, oh yeah, I can move your whole 3-bedroom house in 5 hours, which is just not doable at all. They say, oh my goodness, I want to go with that company. And then on the day of moving, every moving company charges hourly for the time that's used, that when it's going to be 7, 8, 9 hours, which is what we would see with a 3-bedroom house, there's definitely a price difference. And very likely when that original homeowner got 3 estimates from 3 different companies, one being really cheap and the other 2 being in the range of 7 to 9 hours, they just paid the same amount of money anyways, but now they had a negative experience because somebody told them it was going to be 5 and it was 8 hours. And now they're scrambling to put money together on moving day. So we see it happen all the time that people, hire the cheapest mover. And some clients reach out and say, darn it. And some clients don't reach out, and that's okay too. But we see it happening on a regular basis.
What can a mover do to minimize that, or if they find themselves in that situation? I guess toss out the lowest quote being one of them.
I have this conversation with clients during estimates, virtually every estimate. I tell them, I say, I think you should go and get 2 other moving estimates. I think you should compare and research the companies, compare the services, look at their reviews, ask your neighbor and your friends who they used, and then make a decision. But if you see of one of the 3 being quite a bit lower, I say to them, I said this morning to a client, I would strongly discourage you from picking that one if the other 2 are close to each other, because they're likely providing you a lowball estimate just to attract you as a new client. And then you're just going to pay the same amount of money on moving day.
And I guess people are stuck because their stuff's been moved and then they get the bill. They can't say, no, thanks, I don't want it. Their stuff won't
Yeah,
be
they
moved
are.
back.
Yeah, no, every moving company virtually for local moves just charges hourly. So if it takes 9 hours, you're going to pay for 9 hours.
So that'd be a way to check just the number of hours if they seem reasonable and similar.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
So when you get three estimates
Yep.
and one says 5 hours and one says 8.5 and one says 9, these two are really close to each other in terms of range, that these ones are probably much more accurate than this one. This one's probably just trying to attract you as a new client.
Okay, something to be leery of. You also do Murphy beds because you've spoken quite a bit about handling Murphy beds. So if people are wondering, those are the beds that fold up into a wall or a cabinet. And so you say you specialize in moving them. What does that mean and why do you need to do that?
Yeah. Murphy Wellbed of Canada on Douglas Street has trained our staff, and we go back for refresher training every 6 to 8 months. We go and dismantle and move people's Murphy beds and reassemble them again, be it a one-off if people are just selling their Murphy bed, which happens all the time, or if it's a part of an overall residential move. We can go and do those as well. The reason why homeowners may want to consider hiring a moving company to move them is because there's a spring in it that's loaded to essentially fold the bed up to the wall, that if you don't handle it properly, you can really hurt yourself. People have lost fingers and really hurt their arms because that spring is loaded and it's a lot of force if it's not properly taken apart. So I always encourage clients to hire some kind of professional for a Murphy bed because you can get really hurt.
So even just selling one, not just a move, they would need to do that.
Oh yeah, if they're selling one, they've got one attached to their walls. They've got to get it dismantled, moved, and then reassembled. And they're definitely a specialty furniture items. You're going to want to find someone who knows how to handle them.
We don't want the buyer coming in to say, oh, I'll do it myself.
Yeah.
Unless they're trained. That could be tragic.
Yeah.
So what do you see when people do their own move? They do the DIY, do-it-yourself beer and pizza move. And what are some of the mistakes they see? And why should they hire professional movers?
There's many rental truck companies in town, and one or two of them have been known to double book people. So you go to pick up your rental truck at 8 in the morning on moving day, and it's not there. It is one of two things. One is that the company has accidentally double booked you and your truck is not there, it's out and about. Or the client who had it yesterday didn't bring it back in time and it's not also not there. That can be hugely stressful. For clients that I provide them an estimate and they say, oh my gosh, it's too expensive, I think I'm going to go and get a rental truck. I always tell them, please get your rental truck 2 or 3 days before you need it. Yes, you're going to spend a little bit of money, but then you know that you're going to have it for moving day because it really is a problem in Victoria. In terms of doing their own moving, I think a lot of people think, oh, moving's easy. You just throw things into a truck. And it couldn't be further from the truth. There really is a method of how you load a truck, not to be scary or anything, but 2 or 3 times a year, a moving truck flips on the highways. Notoriously, the Mackenzie interchange and the Malahat. They get into some kind of car accident, or they haven't loaded the truck properly, and there's too much weight on the left or the right, or whatever it may be. They go around an interchange like Mackenzie, and the truck topples over. It's incredibly rare, but it's almost always homeowners renting their own moving trucks because they haven't rented a moving truck in 10 years and they don't know how to drive it. Also, they don't know how to load it. Typically, what we do is we load boxes first and then furniture next. Boxes are really simple. Heavy ones on the bottom, the light ones on the top. I think everyone knows that. But in terms of furniture, you need to make sure that everything is blanket wrapped or has shrink wrap on it for certain types of pieces of furniture to make sure that when you play Tetris and you stack everything on top of it, that things aren't scratching each other. The average homeowner or renter doesn't have 30, 40, 50, 60 moving blankets to properly protect their furniture. So they would either need to go and buy or rent those things. Also, they need to be strapping these things to the walls. People may not have 10, 15, 20 straps to be strapping dressers and bed frames and all kinds of things to the walls. And then lastly, there's specialty items like pianos and gun safes that need to be really loaded properly to make sure the truck doesn't topple over, that the average homeowner doesn't know about. I think those are some of the reasons why it can be truthfully unsafe, be it their household goods could get hurt or the truck could get into an accident. And then the last thing I would say is just the do you really want to move yourself aspect? And that is that you might have a sore back or legs for 1 or 2 or 3 days. You may actually injure yourself. There's a piece of the furniture in your house that could be quite heavy. And if you don't lift them properly, or if you're just lifting too much weight, you could pull something in your back. And what does it mean to pull something in your back and you're out for 3 days or you're out for 3 weeks? That may right there warrant using a moving company with the lost wages. So it's a lot of factors. It's safety, it's the knowledge of how to do it, and it's the convenience factor of, you know what? We're just going to hire the muscle to come in here, move our house efficiently. They know what they're doing. And it's really a seamless day. You just have to point to where you want it to be placed at your new house and pour yourself a glass of wine and relax.
And also the risk of damage. They hire a friend for the pizza who they don't know what they're doing. They break stuff, they scratch stuff.
Absolutely. It's a pretty hard conversation to have a conversation with one of your soccer buddies and say, oh, you really scratched my coffee table. I made that, or my uncle gave that to me, or it's really high end. That's a challenging conversation to have.
That's a good point. Insurance. If somebody is moving and if they're using you and something gets damaged, is there insurance to cover that?
Yeah. So there's a few different insurance policies in play. One is that licensed professional moving companies should have general liability coverage. And that means that if a catastrophic event were to happen, flood somehow happens, fire somehow happens, and there is significant damage to a household item or the house, that moving company probably has the proper insurance. We need $2 million to work with the residential market. You need $5 million to work with the commercial market. So $5 million. In terms of household damage, the Ministry of Transportation also regulates this. The Ministry of Transportation says that clients need to pick either release value coverage or declared value coverage. So release value coverage is complimentary. It's included in at least our labor rates. I can't speak for other moving companies. And it's the most least amount of coverage possible if something happens. So as an example, I'm sitting here in front of a desk. Let's say it weighs 100 pounds. Everything in the moving industry in terms of a damage claim is based on the weight of the item in question. So let's say that this desk gets damaged, a scratch, a dent, something like that. And let's say it weighs 100 pounds for easy math. Ministry of Transportation said the moving companies have to offer that client 60 cents per pound. So 100 pounds, they need to pay $60. I'm not sure about you, but that number to me is really small. It is likely not going to pay for a furniture restorer to buff out a scratch or fill in a dent, whatever it may be, with a very minimal amount of coverage. The other type of coverage that the Ministry of Transportation says that moving companies have to offer is something called declared value coverage, which means that if that client picked that coverage amount, first of all, there's a premium for it. It's not free. If they pay the premium for it, they would receive up to $8 per pound. As an example, the desk I'm sitting in front of, it weighs 100 pounds. That client would receive up to $800 to first fix, if it's fixable, or if it's completely irreplaceable. Not fixable. As an example, if the desk somehow shattered into 100 pieces and couldn't be put back together or was glass, then it would be replaced. But in the moving industry, it's always fix before replace. So then we're in the budget of being able to go to a furniture restorer and say, hey, here's a scratch or a dent. Can you buff it out, fill it in, things like that? And now you're working with an $800 budget. So a lot of clients are interested in that, knowing that, you know what, sometimes things happen in a moving truck. There's speed bumps, there's people who cut us off in traffic, potholes, and those kind of disruptions on the road can impact things in the box of the moving truck. And yes, things are blanket wrapped and they're strapped to the walls, but even regardless of that, there are some events that happen on the roads. That level of protection still isn't enough and things can happen.
So for a do-it-yourself move, is there insurance, or what happens in that case, or the friend who scratches the prized family antique?
So I can't speak for any of the truck rental companies in town because they would all have their own insurance policies, but there may be coverage there. I'm not sure. For a lot of Canadian house insurance policies, and first of all, not an insurance advisor, this is an insurance advice, but vast majority of Canadian house insurance policies have a rider that your content coverage on your home when you move within a certain amount of days can provide coverage for when you move. You always have to check with your insurance broker to see if you have it and all the limitations and things. But I always encourage clients to reach out and let them know that they're moving and need new policies and all that. The pros and cons of that is that the pros is that you've paid for it. You don't have to pay anything more. But the con is that if it is a larger claim, something happens to your woodworking lathe or pool table, those can be more expensive fixes that now that you're making a claim on your house insurance policy, that can impact your future premiums. So someone who's doing a do-it-yourselfer, if they have homeowner insurance or renter's insurance, they could go to their insurance provider and ask if they have that coverage. If not, there is like moving insurance that you can just buy from third-party providers.
It's all good to know.
The thing
Is there anything you don't move?
for medical professionals who have optometry equipment, dentistry equipment, things like that that are very high end. And some of them are incredibly heavy. You would be shocked to know how much a dental chair weighs. We're not going to do dentists, optometrists, professions like that. And it's just because of the equipment that they have. It's highly specialized. None of it goes into a box. It's all loose in the truck, which means all of the arms of the equipment and things that hang off of them, they're all exposed and could snap in the truck. It's never happened, but we don't want to take on that risk just because that equipment is exceptionally expensive to replace, to repair.
So that would take a
Yeah.
specialty.
And I would say accountants, law firms, engineering firms, we move those guys all the time. Any kind of standard commercial move, I would say, is absolutely fine. It would just be the real specialty ones that we'd have to take a second think about.
So your company moves seasonally throughout BC and Alberta. What do you mean by that, seasonally?
In the spring and the summer, we're happy to do moves throughout all of BC and all of Alberta. And we do that because the roads are good, weather is good. But come fall and winter, we like to stay closer to home. We're happy to do Vancouver moves. We're happy to do the full Vancouver Island. But that's about it. We like to stay closer just because of the potential highway conditions with colder temperatures and weather. And we like to stay out those mountain passes for a few reasons. We would hate to have some kind of accident. First of all, our staff were in the truck. We wouldn't want anything to happen to them. Secondly, our clients' belongings are in the truck. What happens if on the top of the Coca-Cola and the truck flips over? There would be significant damage to, again, staff, our truck, our clients' belongings. It would be a really terrible situation. And it's just something that we're not interested in doing at this time.
They would do better planning their move either early or waiting. I guess it's hard to do a move early, but it's easier to wait.
It would be. And honestly, it would save the client money because you're not going 90 kilometers an hour in February over the Coca-Cola. It's just not possible. You've got to take it slower, which means you're paying for that time. So they would save money. It would diminish their risk for any accidents on the highway with their belonging and save them some money.
Rachel, thanks for joining me today. And if someone's listening and wants to book a move with you, first of all, what's the best way to get in touch? And then what's the process in dealing
Yeah,
with
great
you?
question. So we're really quite adamant about doing in-person estimates for residential moves. I would be okay with not doing one for like a basement suite or a one-bedroom unit. Those are fairly predictable, but 2 bedrooms and up, I really like to come to the person's house or condo and see it. There's many things about person's home and their contents that are going to make the move go shorter or longer. So as an example, condo moving, if they're on an upper floor, we have to move everything in and out of the elevator, which means we're double handling all of their content. There can be considerable walking time within condo buildings from the front door, the moving truck to the front door, to the elevator, up the elevator, and then to their unit, and then all the way back. So condo moves take more time. So for me to come to someone's home and say, oh my goodness, you're at the very end of the hallway and the moving truck has to be parked over here, this is going to take time. It's good to find out these things now so you can properly plan their move with the right amount of trucks and staff and timing, and set expectations with the clients to say, this is going to be a longer day. And then for houses, there may be the chance of stairs. Perhaps there's a basement or a second floor. Perhaps a larger floor plan. There's actually walking time within the home because it's a 4,000 or 5,000 square foot home, as an example. Some people's driveways are 10, 20, 30% grade, and we can't park a moving truck on a driveway with that much slope. We have to park on the street and dolly everything up or down the elevator, up or down the driveway, and that takes time. And level of content. I've seen 2-bedroom homes that take 2 trucks because they have so much content. So I need to come to people's homes and figure out the cubic volume to make sure it's going to fit into 1, 2, 3 trucks, whatever it may be. So for us, it's really important that we come and do in-person estimates. I find phone estimates to be highly inaccurate, and virtual estimates are the middle ground. Oftentimes the client really quickly showing you around a room and you're not really seeing what's there. You're not seeing what's in cupboards and closets. And there's lots of missed things that can happen with virtual estimates. So we really are quite adamant about doing in-person estimates for 2-bedroom or more people's homes, and then of course commercial moves. So the process is really getting in touch. I'm a phone person. I find email is, there's just too many details to go over that it just makes sense to let's just pick up the phone, chat about your move, and set up a time for me to come by. I can usually provide an estimate within 1 or 2 business days, and then they have time to go and find other estimates, make a decision, and get things booked. And then between now and moving day, we send a plethora of resources, packing tips and tricks. How on earth do you pack your garage and your kitchen? How to prepare for moving day so it goes efficiently and goes well. Our moving specialist is assigned to them, and they have a resource to call with any kinds of questions or concerns. We do a pre-move call where we call a few days before and say, you're packed right, and you've got the driveway cleared for us, and everything's ready to go. And then moving day happens. We get in touch to say, hey, we're on our way. Be there in 30 minutes, whatever it may be. Complete the move. And then about 5 days later, our moving specialist gets in touch again to say, how'd the move go? How are you enjoying your new home? And touching base.
Good. You do a follow-up. That's great. How far in advance should somebody book a move?
I would say if it's June to August, they should probably be booking 6 to 8 weeks at least for the dates of around the 50th and around the last day of the month, perhaps even 8 or 10 weeks out. July 31st and end of August is some of the busiest weeks for moving companies of the whole year. Those dates go really quickly. So it's really important that people get in touch for those ones really early on. I would say for the vast majority of the year, you probably could get away with 2 to 4 weeks out. And then again, 15th and last day of the month, for I would say the vast majority of the year, you're still 4 to 6 weeks out. You should be booking.
Great. Thank you. How can people get a hold of you?
I'm a phone person. I really like talking on the phone about all these things. Calling me is 250-588-8898. I also do texts after initial conversation if that's easier. And then email is info@provincialmoving.ca. And you can also follow us on our social media accounts as well. But phone's the best.
Great. Thank you. My guest today has been Rachael Cronk from Provincial Moving and Storage. And thanks for joining us.
Wonderful. Thanks for having me.
And that's a wrap.